Days after the Parkland shooting, all over America, mothers and fathers dropped their children off at school, and I know because I dropped my son off to school. And I asked myself, will they be safe? Can it happen here? Will they come home? This can't be. We can't stand by and let our schools, our cities, and our communities become war zones. It's been 5 years since the Sandy Hook Elementary massacre, where 20 students and 6 teachers were murdered by a gunman. Since then, there have been at least 239 school shootings where more than 400 people have been shot. We have too many members of Congress who care more about the threats and the checks they get from the NRA than they do about the kids in America's classrooms. For all those who lost their lives this week in Parkland, and for the survivors and broken families left behind, your words of sympathy and condolences aren't enough. It's never been enough, and your prayers aren't enough. This is Late Night Parents. This is Ted Hicks. To my left, Rich Valdez. Ways to follow the show, latenightparents.com. Rich, as usual, I would say it's good to see you, but it's on a somber note.
It's been a long, hard week, but good evening, Teddy Ted. How are you? Hope all is well. You said a lot there in the opening. What we've seen happening down in Florida this past week, the tragedy that it was, the innocent. You can't go any further than calling them completely innocent victims because they had nothing to do with this at all, no fault of theirs at all. The 17 children and adults that have been killed, and the 14 still that are injured. I know our thoughts and prayers go out to them, hoping those that have recovered a speedy recovery, and deepest condolences to the families of those who have lost.
But those thoughts and prayers from us aren't hollow.
No.
They aren't from, words that are just said to
Right.
fill the moment, or words that are just said because there's nothing else to say because of either competing agendas or, this is where I could say I'm kind of speechless, because you think in a time like this, when things are happening to our children, and since we're both parents,
Yep.
we can say our children.
Yep.
Because, you think of how many times that one of your sons had a friend over, whether it's for dinner or something like that, and you start to tie things up. You start to think about situations where this happened, and are we just going to stand on the sideline and hear this, this partisan BS?
It's a tough call. The real question is, what do you do that doesn't go to an extreme on either side? There still has to be a middle ground of a sort in resolving this issue. Both sides, or in this case, we'll say one side has to give a little more than they have in the past. But both sides have to come to an agreement and quickly. And maybe this will be the item or the issue or the event that is impetus for that to happen.
We would hope. We would definitely hope. And, this is the time. And, a lot of people say, oh, this person leans on their religion, or, but this is something that, we're expecting man to fix. And you can only hope that God can fix something like this, because you have broken families in Florida.
Yep.
You have all different cases. Because we're going to have our guest is going to be coming on shortly, mental health advocate, because you start to think, Rich, is it too soon for us to start thinking about some of these kids that will experience PTSD?
Not at all. That most likely would have been, one of the first things on the minds of school administrators, you would think, because sure, as you're alluding to, We've got the children that have lost their lives, but now you've got a school full. Heck, you've got a town full of children and parents who are going to have what I would think would be the effects commonly associated with PTSD after this incident. And, this has long lasting effects far beyond, the what happens next year when we have a memorial, and the year after that when there's less and less. This is going to go on for some people for their entire lives.
And I don't mean the opening wasn't meant to politicize anything, but you think about it and you say, okay, Sandy Hook was 5 years ago.
Yep, yes it was.
Nothing's been done. And it's easy to blame a Democrat or a Republican. I will tell you, I kind of like to hear and see what I've been watching the news about the young folks.
Right, those who are down there.
Those are that are down there. They aren't going to just sit by on the wayside, let this happen to their town, very small town,
right,
without reaching out to your politicians, reaching out to their politicians. I mean, I think you and I, during the week, we have spirited discussions on what do you do? Mm-hmm. It's a multi-layered problem. It's easy for me to say, oh, it's left or it's right.
Right.
That's the easy, and that's kind of the Trump's way out. It's a multi-layered problem. There's guns, there's mental health, there's, yes, it was legally purchased.
Completely.
So it's different if it was stolen. It's different if...
No, I see it actually the other way, because since this was completely, and as it seems, legally purchased, this responsibility falls on the person that committed the crime. This is, in this case... This is more a mental health issue. This person, now, I'm going to backtrack a little bit on that.
Okay.
Only to say that it's a mental health issue for the person who did the shooting, but it's a failure across the board. It seems from everything that's being reported, allegedly, for the FBI, missing phone calls for the local police who've gone over there. What did they say? 39 times, I believe, is the number. Visited the home for calls, didn't do anything. 20 other phone calls to precincts and police to the home with concerning issues. Everyone now coming out and saying, oh yeah, we know he had issues. Oh, he had issues. Oh, he beat up on his mother. Oh, this, that, and the other. And no one did a thing. So, like you're saying, this is a multi-layered issue for certain.
So, I guess at this part of the show, we're going to tackle mental health.
Okay.
Because on the latter part of the show, or segment 2 or segment 3, we can tackle guns.
Yep. And
we can talk about the most popular gun in the United States.
I don't own one, but I can speak to it.
Okay. And before our guest joins us, I will tell you, Bridgette Bussie and I have been friends for many years, mental health advocate, deals in case management, and, so she's out in the field dealing with issues. I'm not saying similar to the young man that decided to take all those lives,
right?
But she's been in a situation where, some of these stories are, not stories that you want to write home about.
Right.
So with that, want to invite Bridgette on the line. Bridgette, how you doing?
Hi, how are you? I'm well.
Hello, Bridgette. Thanks for joining us. This is Rich.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Pretty well, thank you.
All right. So definitely want to thank you again for joining us, and I guess we're going to get right into it. As you know, all of America was affected by the Parkland shooting last week that happened in Florida. With your expertise, I'm going to ask you, Rich and I are going to ask you a series of questions, but the first one is, what does it mean to have a mental illness, and what are some of the causes?
Well, good evening, everyone. My name's Bridgette Bussie, and I've been working in mental health now since 2008. I primarily have worked with children, and I've also worked on the adult side as well. mental health is a condition. Some people even want to relate it to a disease that affects a person's thinking, your feelings, your mood. Some may affect someone's ability to relate to others, how you function each day. Each person will have a different experience, though. Even people with the same diagnosis can have a different experience with it.
Oh.
And you also asked causes?
Yes.
Correct.
Well, although the exact cause of mental illness is not known, research has been done and showing, causes could be a combination of genetic, biological, psychological, and even environmental can bring about mental illness.
All right, so if those are some of the causes, and I guess coming from both sides, for a person who may be suffering from mental illness that has been undiagnosed, and also from the perspective of the friends and family around that person, what would be some of the warning signs of mental illness?
Well, first of all, it's important that you pay attention. We have to pay attention. So if you're paying attention, any sudden changes in a person's thoughts, in their behaviors, anything, if you're living with someone, you know them, you know their behaviors, you know how they function, how they deal. And so when you'll see a sudden change, something's going to trigger, and you'll be like, okay, something's not right here, but pay attention. Please pay attention.
What should I do if I know someone who appears to have either some or all the symptoms of serious mental disorder?
What should
I do? If you're noticing someone that appears to have some type of mental disorder, should I go to the police? Should I go to...
Okay, what I believe you're trying to describe to me is someone who's in a crisis.
Correct.
If you see someone that is in a crisis, call 911. Let a professional come out and deal with that situation. You can also, first of all, I'm in the Virginia area, so in Virginia we have community service boards in each county, and which provides mental health, behavioral health for the community. So you can go there for crisis. You can go for outpatient therapy. You can also go there for medication management. So depending on the area and where you're from and what state you're in, it's probably something a little different there. But I'm pretty sure there are organizations and facilities in the area that are providing mental health support in the community.
All right, so let's say that I have started, or a loved one has started taking treatment for a mental disorder.
Okay.
What do you need to know about the medications that they may be, or the person themselves may be being prescribed?
Well, it's good to know if you are a family member or support to someone who has a mental illness, and you are aware that they are on medication. A good thing to do is, are you taking your meds? Just simply don't badger, because a lot of no one wants to. A lot of times, if you push the issue, it could cause someone to get a little upset. But you do want to reach out and just communicate. Are you taking your medicine? Because a lot of times people with mental health, they're forgetful, so they may forget. If you are that person's support, go with them to the doctor. Go with them to medication management appointments. Give feedback. Let them know if you see any kind of side effects from the medications, because sometimes every medication might not be the perfect fit for that person. So psychiatrists may, they need to have that information. So that's good to if you're going to be that person's sort of support system. That's a great place to begin with that.
Bridgette, as a parent, how would we, after experiencing what happened at Parkland, how would we expect our children to go back to Parkland School with it being a place of bloodshed, place of a situation? How would we go back? I mean, how would we expect them to deal in that type of situation? I mean, as a parent, should I take my son or my daughter, if they did experience that, and pull them and put them in another school? Do I send them back to Parkland? What would you suggest?
Oh, wow, that's heavy. Those kids are going to really deal with a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder things. It's from my understanding, they tore down Sandy Hook School. Am I correct?
You're correct.
So, I'm not sure what that area, how those parents are, how that whole community is going to move forward with that situation. But it's going to be really heavy for kids to have to go back into an area where their friends were sitting with them just the other day, or their teacher, or the coach. I can't say what that community is going to do, but I do know that those children need as much counseling and support through this as they could possibly get. So I really can't speak on what that community is going to do about that situation, but I do strongly feel that just a strong mental health therapist and need to be there in that area, grief counselors, to get those kids through that. And the adults, too, in the situation, the teachers as well, were traumatized as well. We're not just talking about the kids. You have adults that are going to be traumatized to go back into that school as well.
Right. You have an entire community, as
Yes.
Ted and I were discussing before you joined us. It's everyone in that area that's going to be affected for years and years to come. And yeah, what they end up doing, in the immediate time frame, I guess
Well, it looks
only
like
time will tell.
they're trying to start a movement because they are some powerful kids right now, and they're making their voices heard in this country.
Yes. I'll say, initially as it was all unfolding in the immediate day and 2 days afterwards, at first I wasn't sure how I felt about that. The way it almost seemed like some of the news stations were, I'll say, parading the kids, but it wasn't quite that bad. But it seemed like they were they almost were taking advantage of having the kids out there just to get them on the news and getting them out there, to speak. But upon thinking about it, that in and of itself, I'm guessing, could have also been, the first part of that healing process for those children, because they were there, they were on camera saying what they felt, describing the scene, describing the incident to the best of their ability. And, that's getting out there and saying and being vocal about it, I guess, is much better than holding it in and internalizing it. So, yeah, but again, who knows what happens over the long run.
In the long run. Well, thank you, guys. I really appreciate you letting me come on and participate in this with you.
No, thank you very much for joining us. It has been a pleasure.
Thanks so much for joining us, all right?
All right. Take care.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Yeah, what do you say?
I wouldn't know what to say because I've never been in a situation like that.
Right. Yeah, neither have I. And unfortunately, yes, this is we've seen it more and more often at larger scales over the last few years. Unfortunately. Yeah. So people are figuring out how to deal with it. But to your point about the school, I mean, I don't know enough about that town. Are they going to be able to just relocate the classes to another area? Do they do like sure. Sandy Hook did for that was preschool. That was so you can tear that down, rebuild the building, and it's not as huge an effect on the community. But here you have a small town as it is, and with all the kids that go there, to tear down the building probably isn't exactly the most feasible thing, and then you still have to rebuild. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But, you also kind of get the idea that they are going to receive tons of support from both the local governments and private, in whatever ends up happening that to do this, to rebuild.
I hate to share this news with you, but I was told that all the funerals are being covered
by the government. I think the local government's covering that.
Correct.
Yeah, and one of the airlines, I forget which one, has said that they will pay for transportation for those who are immediately affected.
Right.
So that's a good thing for them. Thank you.
Well, this is Late Night Parents. The way to follow the show, you can go to latenightparents.com, where you could find the latest podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, all through latenightparents.com. I guess I'll say to you, it's a situation that when dealing with our president
mm-hmm.
and his involvement in it, I mean, is it too rough to say he's making things worse?
No, I don't
on Twitter.
Is it rough? No. Is it accurate? Yes.
I think it pretty much is, because now you can sit here and you can place blame,
right?
And he's placing blame, and it's just ugh. I mean, it's just a painful situation that you would look to our leader to go there,
right?
Not as a photo op,
right?
To sit down and help them heal.
You would think.
And
not disappear. If I remember correctly, again, Sandy Hook. I mean, that's the most recent and largest event that we can compare this to. Of course, President Obama at the time went on the air to the country and spoke, and you could tell he was honestly and truly, pained by the situation. Our current president, I believe, had something scheduled and canceled it.
I think he's planning on going out there on Wednesday or Thursday, one day this week, to sit down and listen
and say what. And well, he can say lots of things, he can do lots of things, but let's see what actually comes out of it.
Well, the one important thing is you have a lot of those young people,
right,
that are going to take or going to try to take Congress to the test.
Right.
Try to hold them there, hold their feet, by the fire to say, okay, what are you guys doing?
Right. You have to do something.
You have to do something at some point. And I think this week when you and I were talking about this off air, I don't know if I can or I can't say in pre-pro.
In pre-pro.
Pre-pro.
Yes.
We were talking about the fact that in situations like this, it has to be handled locally. You can't look for it nationally.
Right.
But if the local states, say, like a state like New York,
mm-hmm.
gun laws is much different than Oklahoma.
Correct. But having said that, mm-hmm. I think you have to find that balance.
Yes, you do.
So let's go to, because we just to say we would discuss the weapon itself, and we'll also continue to dive into the laws as they stand. So, as a rule, I think it was Don Lemon was on the air and was kind of frustrated about why in just about every state an 18-year-old can go out and get a rifle, or we're calling it an assault-style rifle. I'll stick with that, even though there's a little disagreement there, but we'll call it the assault-style rifle. An 18-year-old can go purchase that, but can't go purchase a handgun in the majority of the states. The reason for that is simple. A handgun can be easily concealed anywhere, and a rifle can't.
Okay.
That's the reasoning there. The laws. So, as you just kind of hinted, in a state like New York, New Jersey, California, I believe Maine, a couple of D.C., Washington, if you wanted to go out and purchase a rifle, in those states, California not included, you can go to either your local gun store or some of the larger stores. Let's call it, putting a brand on it, Walmart. You can go to a Walmart. They have the rifles in the store. Pick one up. You have to fill out the FBI background check form still.
Okay.
No matter where. But that background check will only take could only take about 15 minutes after you fill it out, and they call it in, and they get the call back that you're cleared and your record's okay, and you can walk out with it. Now, the difference being for the majority of the states, if you wanted to go buy a handgun, many states, we'll call the states the flyover states, everything that's off of the coasts, you want a handgun, you go to the store, you still have to go through that background check and everything, but 15, 20 minutes later, you can walk out with it. It's yours. That's it. No extra permits to carry, nothing like that. It's yours to do whatever you want with. States again, like where we are, New York, California, New Jersey. If you want to purchase that weapon, you can't just walk into any store to get it. It's got to be a licensed dealer. Then there is a secondary background check with your local, let's say, constable, your local sheriff, your local police, whatever the case may be. Like, for example, in New York, in order to get a weapon, and I'm talking for home usage, not for carry. Carrying concealed is a whole nother ball game. In the states I've mentioned, just to get a pistol permit for home usage and target shooting at the range, you have to, of course, once you've decided what weapon you're going to buy, you get the paperwork for it. You go to your local sheriff or police department. They do a background check on you. They may interview you. You have to get a permit to be able to purchase said weapon. Then they get the serial number information for the weapon. Then you go back to the dealer that you're getting the weapon from. He verifies that you've gone to the police department and are allowed to take the weapon. Then you take you take ownership of the weapon, but you have to take it back to the police department, where they will have there's a bullet that has been fired from the weapon, so they'll know the rifling of it, and then that weapon and its serial number and everything are registered to you, and you can take it home, and it stays at home unless you go into the range. For many people, that process seems over the top. Having been through the process myself, I don't see it as over the top. Why? Because they have been ensured that I'm, for the most part, not under the influence of anything. I'm a responsible person. I will be a responsible owner, and I won't be reckless, and I can be trusted to have said weapon. Now, there are those in the NRA who believe that's not fair, who will say, nope, the Second Amendment says that I should be able to have a weapon no matter what, and I should be able to get it and not have to ask anyone for it, not ask any permissions, not get any clearances or anything like that. I don't agree with that necessarily, because you do have situations like this potentially where someone with mental illness, mental issues will get ownership of a weapon and do untold amounts of damage with it. So for myself personally, as far as just the licensing and ownership process, I have no issue at all with background checks across the board. That, I believe, should be a national thing. It's going to a national database. It's going to the FBI database. So if you want to get a weapon, you should have it could be minimal, but there should be a background check on everyone, and a minimal or a reasonable, I'll take minimal out of it, a reasonable vetting process, just to say, all right, you don't have mental issues, you don't have a series of events in your criminal background.
Okay.
Then sure, you can get a weapon.
I think in the state of Florida, the governor, Rick Scott, was working with Congress that, and I could be wrong, but if you wanted to purchase a gun, you could not be asked a question about mental health. I don't remember if it was the question or there was you
something about that. Right. And there was something which caused there to be an issue with that, or why they said, no, that's not fair. I believe it was that because there was like one case of someone who had maybe gone because they were feeling depressed at one time and had gotten it taken care of, and then that, because of that incident years in the past, they were not allowed to then get a rifle or a gun. I forget what it was, and so they made that the linchpin for saying, no, that's not fair. We're not going to authorize that, and we say that's not a good idea.
So on latenightparents.com, we have a blog post that was pushed up there post Parkland about facts about the most popular rifle in America and mass shootings.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure if we referenced the 15 minutes or 15 minutes was referenced in there, but I see it referenced all the time.
On the background check?
On the background
check.
check.
Yeah, and that's about how long it takes.
So that's the standard.
But that's the standard. I mean, if you go during holiday season, there may be backlogs. You might stand there for an hour or longer. But it's a 15-minute process. It's the FBI background check. It's not just like, someone looking up and saying, oh, his name looks good. It's a real background check.
8 million people own an AR-15?
Well, or that style weapon. Yep, that's how many of them are out there. It is the most popular sporting rifle there is because it is very easy to use. It's easy to customize. It's easy to operate. As far as they go, price-wise, you can either spend a minimal amount. I'm saying minimal meaning in the $500-ish range, or you want to go full tilt. You can spend a couple thousand on one. That's purely up to you, your budget, and your desires.
So let's debunk a myth.
Okay.
Debunking the myth of the good guy and the gun. We hear so many times about, let's just say a killer, whether it's Las Vegas,
right?
Or, we can name so many different locations where the killer, the murderer,
the shooter
has an AR-15
or has a gun. Forget AR-15.
Okay. Has a gun. And if a good person has a gun, law-abiding, they could have stopped that person.
Happens all the time. So are we going to be, Rich, at the point where if one of the teachers was armed in school, right?
Are you saying what happened on a few days ago wouldn't have happened in that situation?
You can't say because it depends upon, it goes from the basics of, well, is there any training involved?
Right.
Because you're not required, not everywhere. Some places do require you to have training. I believe I'm safe in saying the majority don't. But no, that's just to say it blanketly like that. No, it doesn't. That doesn't count because you have to think of it like this: for those police officers that are out there, and that's their job. Crimes happen all the day, and they're in the area. So just because there's, we'll say, the good guy with a gun in the area does not at all ensure that they would be able to stop, a bad guy with a gun. There are some probably very fair studies that would say, it could also make it a little more dangerous because when the time comes for the police to get there or get involved, they may now not be able to be sure of who's the good guy and who's the bad guy.
Right.
Is it a possibility that it can help? Yes. Is it a possibility it can hurt? Yes.
Is there a possibility it can make the situation even worse?
Yes. And there's a possibility that they can stop the person. But it is in no way, shape, or form a guarantee that it's going to help because every situation is different. So what do you do? We can't even speculate, like in a case like this, of what could happen because there was a good guy with a gun in the area who was supposed to be there, but he just wasn't around the spot, the location exactly where the shooter was. So made no difference.
I do want to say this. Disheartening this morning, waking up. It wasn't disheartening waking up.
That was a good thing, right? Waking up was a good thing.
That was a good thing. Disheartening waking up and seeing 13 tweets from our president.
I have been disassociating myself from Twitter.
You can't. Well, you know what? You disassociate yourself from Twitter. I've totally disassociated myself from Facebook.
Yeah, you've done Facebook. I look at Twitter, and that's one of the benefits of the two different handles.
Yes.
The two different tags.
Right.
The public tag, I look at more because I know that stuff related to us and late night parents and people trying to contact me, or you the good Teddy Ted linking. The personal feed, I hardly ever even check that anymore. And yeah, Facebook has always been just for really friends and family, and that's what I stick to for that. But yeah, please, someone get this man off of Twitter. Shut his phone down. Turn it off. Do something, please. Parental controls. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah, he needs something. The of the many things that were said.
Yep.
Of the Hillary bashing and Obama bashing and little Adam Schiff and the fake news and everything. When he started bashing the FBI and said and conflated the situation of you wouldn't have missed the tip for Parkland
if you hadn't been paying so much attention to Moscow investigation.
Correct. Can we inform him that the FBI is more than just Mulder and Scully?
It is?
It really is.
There's more than two guys at the FBI?
There's more than two people in the FBI.
Wow.
I think they have about 35,000 employees.
Yeah, I don't think they were all focusing on Russia. I don't think so.
Scary. Some scary stuff. That, okay, once again, I didn't vote for him.
Neither did I.
Okay? You got a Dem, you got a Republican. We're not bashing him.
No, bashing is when it's undeserved.
Right.
We're speaking the truth.
I mean, he's just unbelievable. He's really unbelievable.
Things we have observed.
Yeah, and this is when you just sit here and you're like, okay, this is our lives until, a couple more years.
Yes.
And potentially add another 4 onto that.
I don't see that happening. I would almost be willing to put money on it. I do not see it. I see November as being the beginning of the tipping point. Because, again, as in pre-pro, the conversations we've had, the last election, I think you had everyone conceivably who would have voted. We'll just make it easy and say who would have voted Republican, voted Republican last election. Those who maybe would have normally not voted. Those who were on the fence or were energized and thought this was the best way to go, voted. And you had a lot of people on the Democratic side who thought it was a shoo-in who didn't vote. Or thought they were comfortable, or just didn't like, what they were seeing from their party's candidate, and said, well, you know what, I'm not going to vote. I'm going to stand out or stand away or vote, one of the independents or third party, fourth party candidates that were out there.
The Jill Stein votes.
Yes. But this time around, it's going to be almost the exact opposite, I think. You're going to have so many of those who voted Republican who realize, and there's a lot of them out there like, I made a mistake. I'm not voting for this guy again. You're going to have that many more of those on the Democratic side come out and say, we screwed up last time. We wouldn't have been in this situation if we hadn't voted. We're all going to get out and vote. You're going to have those that vote because they missed out, because they didn't vote. You're going to have those that decide to vote because they really want to make a change and make a difference and make a statement. I think it's total opposite. I think you're going to see a lot of those close races in the various states that that tipped blue or tipped red last time. When it comes time for them, in 4 years or 6 years, they're going to go red, and all those that are up for this November that are tipping points will probably go blue instead of going red. Okay, so what's your over-under? Because you know what? The All-Star game is happening. Yes. It's All-Star. Yeah, it's All-Star weekend. I want to ask you this. What's your over-under? 330 million Americans that legally can vote. Is that the number? 330 voters. 330 million, okay? You rounded out standard, about 125, a third of actually vote.
125 million. What's the over-under that it will be, 125 million or more for 2020?
I say yeah. I mean, numbers-wise?
I'm just thinking. Are you thinking it's going to be more, or all the people that sat on the sideline?
I think it's going to be more. I think it's going to be more. Well, you see, the thing is this, though. Last election, we did get a lot of those who normally would have sat on the sideline to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So that itself may not flip. It's going to be hard to say over under. I say that it's 125 or more. I don't think the number drops.
Okay.
I think the ratios flip. I think you get less Republicans to vote next time and more Democrats.
I know we really closely watch viewership on shows, and we talk about, always talking about streaming and everything else like that. I would say the number is going to be above 125. I say closer to 135.
Okay. All right. 10% bump.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Roughly.
That's going to, and we've got some way. And we can always refer back to this show right here.
I wouldn't bet against that. I'll put it like that. I can see it going that way. I think we both agree either way, the number does not go down.
Right. So I will say this much. We've talked about Parkland. We talked about guns. We talked about mental health. And next week we can talk about healing. But wanted the last segment of the show to be about Black Panther.
Wait, I have to interject one very quick thing here.
Okay.
Because you mentioned All-Star.
Yes.
The All-Star game.
Yes.
And it's All-Star weekend.
And
And for the second year in a row,
yes,
my wife's little cousin, Brandon Armstrong, B.A. was playing in the celebrity basketball game.
Ah, very good.
Last year he was MVP. This year he didn't quite get there, but he had the numbers. But you know how that works. That's a political thing, and it's all about social media and publicity and all that. But he's out there. He's playing. He's got Common on his left, Jamie Foxx on his right. Jamie Foxx shouting him out. So keep doing your thing out there, Brandon. Keep doing your thing.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
So, Black Panther.
Black Panther. The wife. I'll say the wife took us today.
Okay.
She was the one who got the tickets. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Great movie. Marvel is on a tear with successful movies, with entertaining movies. This one, let's be real here. This one was making all kinds of political statements. Mm-hmm. Women's rights, minority rights, power. This film had it all.
So you're basically saying DC films should just shut down?
Yes.
Outside of Wonder Woman.
Outside of Wonder Woman, great movie, great franchise. I think they'll turn that into. I hope for and even Batman. Mm-hmm. No problem. They keep dropping the ball with Superman. They just don't know what to do there. And please just forget everyone else.
I just think that Wonder Woman was a special film. Yeah. And I'm not saying it started Me Too or anything else like that.
Right.
I'm just saying it started it's just shined a light for Hollywood to see that, okay, yes, this could be, a movie featuring this person about this character can make a lot of money.
Right.
And it made almost $1 billion.
And it deserved to. But then again, it was a good film.
Right. Great
well
story.
Acted, great story, great direction, great effects. There was nothing you could say wrong about the film.
So Patty Jenkins did a great job with Wonder Woman.
Yes.
So now we get to Black Panther with Ryan Coogler.
Yep.
Okay. Well-layered story. But I have to take a step back.
Okay.
The step back is number one. And this is from a few of my friends that I was talking about in the chat room. And one of my buddies mentioned, he said, people are treating this like it's a documentary.
Yes.
He said, people are treating this like it's we just elected our first black president.
Well, I think it's just that it has been so long, and actually this is the first time really in a mainstream.
No.
Go ahead.
Blade.
No, Blade doesn't count.
Blank Man.
Okay, see, I'm looking for the switch to turn off Ted's mic right now.
Turn the mic off, please.
We haven't had a full-scale, full-tilt, full-budgeted action superhero movie ever, like to this extent. Where we have real background story. I mean, granted, they had plenty of canon to fall back on, or at least to start from, because again, Marvel franchise.
Yes.
You got Stan Lee, still there, still getting his cameo.
Yes.
With real data and information to fall back on. But you pulled the right actors. Everyone was well cast in this movie.
Yes.
There's really nothing. There's nothing bad I think you can say about this. I mean, it wasn't too long. It started off just a little slow, but I think that was just for your character development, which is the way you're supposed to do it. And once it got going, it got going. It was easy. Unlike some films, I found it very easy to suspend belief for all the special effects and trickery. The
CGI.
Well, not just that. Just we'll say, all right, that this costume can exist. Okay, I'll believe it. And things that can turn invisible, things like that. It was easy to say, all right, this is happening in this movie universe, and I'll go with it.
Okay.
So, great movie. What did you think of it?
Well, so based on the fact, once I started hearing about community groups and churches and people were bussing people out there to go see it, I was like, man, I got to tell you, it felt like Obama 08.
Well,
It kind of, you think about it, it felt like Obama 08, where you could feel the movement happening.
I will say this. I have never been in a theater with so many older, mature.
Oh, okay. He cleaned it up.
People of color also in the theater.
Yes.
There were grandparents there.
So you're saying the movie touched multiple generations?
It touched multiple generations. It enticed them to come see it, to hear what all the noise was about. Even though also, I'm quite sure after some other conversations I had with people that they were like, "Oh wait, it's not that Black Panther. It's not 60s Black Panther.
Huey P. Newton.
No, Huey P. Newton. Yes." No, it's not Huey P. Newton Black Panther. It's the comic book looking like a cat Black Panther.
I will tell you this much. I really, really enjoyed it. It took my son.
Yeah, good.
Took my son. I guess I said to him, this is something I want you to witness because, I mean, we've gone to see Iron Man.
Yes.
And Captain America.
Yep.
And Thor. And to see a character culturally to go toe-to-toe with them.
Right.
He's a superhero just like them.
Just like them.
Just like them. And I like the story. I like the different layers of the story, the character development. Love Michael B. Jordan. I think he stole the show.
He held his own. I don't think he stole the show, but he was.
Chadwick Boseman was just too laid back and too cool. Eric Killmonger was just like, you know what? This is mine. I'm here.
I'm taking it.
I'm taking it.
What did you think? Well, we can't say yet. I won't. I was about to ask you, what did you think of the ending? But you might have to say too much.
Yeah,
that would be a spoiler, and it's too soon.
Well,
for that, were you happy with the ending?
I was happy with the ending because there was closure.
Yes,
there was closure, and I said, okay. I looked at this as standalone movie, still within the shared universe. Here's his side story.
Yes. Okay.
So that's the piece I liked about it. And I said, okay, I can go with this. I'm happy with it. I kind of love the photo. Love the photo. Based on this story, I know not only Black Panther is going to play a huge part in Infinity War and also Avengers 4, but we can look for the sequel, Black Panther 2, and
Right.
potentially, the trilogy.
Let's get the full franchise thing going here.
Yes.
There's no way they can say it wasn't popular.
Oh no,
There's no more money behind it.
It's broken all types of records, and you know what? Marvel did it right. They
Yes.
put the money behind it.
Yes, completely.
Totally, because it would have been a situation where you were thinking, "Oh, they're going to skimp out.
Right.
We're going to do it, but we're going to do it half-heartedly.
Right.
We're just going to dip our feet into the water." No, it was that Afro-futuristic
Yep.
type movie,
And fully committed.
fully committed. And you're sitting there, and you're like, because the other piece of it that we haven't touched upon is, yes, two of us are African Americans, but the fictional place Wakanda,
Yep.
it's Africa.
That's Africa.
It's Africa.
Deep in the middle of it.
Deep in the middle of it, and loved it.
You stayed for all of the credits.
All of the credits, and you could see the other star of the show was Shuri, his 14-year-old sister.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She was supposed to be 14?
supposed to be 14. She's really 24.
Right. I
Playing a
didn't know she was
14-year-old.
supposed to be that young. But yeah, she was the M.
Yes, she was. She was. So I think that was great. I don't know. Like, I'm really psyched for what Marvel has, next with Infinity War, and then right behind that is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
And that was the preview that they showed.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, it's about time, because I've been waiting for that to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks good. It looks really good.
Lighthearted.
Yep.
Just like the first one.
Yep.
And
I thoroughly enjoyed Ant-Man. Thought it was, just right.
I tell you, I love the serious message that Black Panther brought to us.
Mm-hmm.
I love the humor sprinkled in there.
Yep.
I love the reference about. There was a reference about building borders, building walls, which I thought was a shot.
That was at the end.
That was at the end.
Yeah.
And I said,
yeah, that was a shot.
That's a shot at
Yep.
our president.
Yep. We all have to get along, one tribe.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. That was a political statement right there. And it was okay.
It was okay. I thought it was a great movie. Enjoyed myself. Roughly about 2 hours 20 minutes.
Yep. Wasn't too long.
Wasn't too long, but it didn't fail where DC would say, "Hey, let's get it under 2 hours, everything in it, and let's rip out 40 minutes of footage."
And worse, let's insert 10 minutes of footage, which has no reference to anything in the movie, but you have to know about it anyway.
Right.
Let's not do that.
Right.
So definitely looking forward to that. Also caught the preview for Solo, which was nice to see on the big screen.
Yes.
This is shaping up to be, just
gonna be
another great year of films.
It's going to be like 20 great films.
What I'm just starting to worry about now, or wonder about, after we get past
Fatigue?
well, yeah, but after we get past Episode 9 of Star Wars,
right?
Let's call the Solo, or the Skywalker lineage done.
Yeah, I think
start an entire new bloodline, storyline, basically unrelated. You don't have to put any references back in.
No,
new story. Let's kick it off and let's see if you can make something out of it.
Well, based on the fact that I think Disney has signed, there's going to be like 5 movies that are going to be external to the Solo lineage.
Okay.
I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
I think we're going to be okay with that. A lot that we covered. Like I said, I know the first 2 or 3 segments of the show was a little heavy, but I thought it made sense to cover.
Heavy times.
Very, very heavy times. Very heavy times. Our country is in a world of, I hate to say it, trouble.
Yeah.
Because you have 2 sides that just can't talk.
Right.
Can't seem to agree. So as I've always said to us, privately, the local elections are so much more, are just as important as, every 4 years when you're voting for a president.
Right. That is, the presidential election, in reality, is the least important of them all. Because that's really just for the public, for the world view, to be this person to be the figurehead. You have to vote your local politicians that will follow the beliefs and govern in the way that you truly want them to, because those are the ones that go and actually get the laws made.
Yes.
And all the president does is sign it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's remember that these people are there because you put them there, and that's it. But term limits. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes.
Term limits.
Yes.
Two terms maximum. You can step up, but you can't step back. And once you've done that, you're done.
Two and goodbye.
Two and goodbye out of that role.
I'm not mad with you, because that way you won't have the local politician who's 8 terms in.
Exactly.
And the waters are so muddy.
Mm-hmm.
And he or she is doing so many different favors for so many different.
Right. Owes everyone and
Yes.
can't do anything that the people, their constituents, really want.
That's true. That is so true. Outside of that, I will say this is the last time that I'm going to be sitting here with you
In this room.
in this room,
In front of these microphones.
in front of these microphones, in front of that camera.
In front of this window, looking at super producer Brian.
Yes. Brian Graves, we want to thank you for everything that you've done here locally. Though the show is not going away, we're going to a new location next week. So the
new studio
was there last Friday, and it looked great. And it's going to be a lot of great things.
Looking forward to it.
Other than that, we come to a close. This is Late Night Parents. This is